Room 442 is presented by North Star Bets. That's a win. Hello, everyone, and welcome into Room 442. Sarah Pararia joined with Mikey Singh as we are standing outside BMO training ground. Yes, we were just watching TFC train in prep for their match against Nashville this weekend. Big news this week for TFC. A lot of rumors going around Michael Bradley. Mikey. We've heard Kevin Kilbane from TSN say he's kind of getting to that age. He's older. He's not the same player he was, which I think is fair. But do you think Michael Bradley is getting too much criticism right now?
I understand it, and what I'd say is that piece of content that we're all referring to, that wasn't breaking any sort of news or any sort of things that we didn't already know about Michael Bradley. As you mentioned, we know he's getting up there in age. We know he's not the same player that he was a couple of years ago, but that doesn't mean he's still not a really important player for this team. And when you look at the qualities that he brings to this team, okay, the intangibles, the leadership and whatnot, but also just his ability on the ball as a six to play in a single pivot. No one else on Toronto FC can offer those same qualities. And when you look at the numbers, you look at the stats, all of that backs it up that Michael Bradley is still a very effective player. Are there parts to his game, like Kilbane rightfully pointed out, that maybe aren't the strongest? Yeah, but that's why you have guys like Marc-Anthony Kaye and Brandon Cervagna around him, guys who can do some of that work that Michael Bradley at this point of his career probably isn't the best at.
Yeah. I mean, he brings so much leadership and experience to the team as well, that's something that I think maybe people forget, and everything he's learned overseas as well. I don't think we ever thought that he was the fastest guy on the pitch, because I don't think Michael Bradley ever has been, but I completely agree with you. And Ayo Akinola actually spoke out on this as well, right?
Yeah, we had a chance to speak to him, and here's what he had to say about not just Michael Bradley as a player, but also part of that interview and the content that TSN put out. They referred to the fact that with Michael Bradley and Bob Bradley having the relationship of being a father-son there might be some awkwardness in the dressing room. And here's what Ayo Akinola had to say about that.
Everyone's fine with it. Honestly, I don't think there's an issue with it. And obviously, it depends on what you say. Right. You know what I mean? And the type of dialogue you say it towards Bob. You know what I mean? And Mike is a very fair person. He's not biased just because the coach is his father. Right. You know what I mean? He listens to both sides, and he'll agree or he'll disagree. So there's a mutual combativeness when people are speaking, trying to speak out their mind. People might think that Mike was always going to favor his father. It's not like that. No. There's mutual agreement where if one person says one thing, Mike might agree with the player. If Bob says one thing, okay, you know what I mean? It's just mutual, you know what I mean? So it doesn't feel like one person is so one-sided to one person than the other, so not usually awkwardness.
Yeah, so as you can see, Ayo Akinola, he's probably the most honest interviewee that I've come across, so he'll tell it as it is. And we just spoke to Matt Hedges a few moments ago, and he reiterated what Ayo Akinola was saying, and that's just the fact that they don't see that they think this is a non-story and this might be overblown. Of course, the other side of it is what are they going to tell you? Mm-hmm. Are they actually going to say, maybe it is a little bit awkward? Because we can't deny it's a little bit of a different relationship. I think only two other teams in Major League Soccer have the father-son combination on a squad, and none of them are as high profile as Michael Bradley and Bob Bradley. So it's one to watch, but it's not something that we didn't know and they didn't know when Bob Bradley accepted the role.
Yeah, and I'm sure between the two of them, father and son, if they have anything to hash out, they also do it behind closed doors, even from the teammates and stuff, because they both keep it so professional from our perspective, and I think that's the right way to do it. We also just heard from Bob Bradley as well, who spoke about Lorenzo Insigne, obviously hot topic here in Toronto. We haven't seen him since the opening game of the season. Bob hinted that he may be able to return for Toronto's next match against Atlanta at home in about a week and a half time now. That would be the fifth game if he doesn't make it. Is there concern that he's just of a certain age and injury prone? Because we saw what happened last season as well.
Yeah, I think that narrative's a little bit overblown. When you take a look at last season, he picked up a calf injury with Italy while on international duty right before coming to Toronto. So that was just like an unideal start to his TFC career. And then there was the personal situation which kept him off the pitch. And it's, when you're looking at that from so long ago, it might be hard to detach that was the fact that that's what kept him off the pitch. People look at it and it's just like, okay, he wasn't playing, must be injury. He can't get on the field enough, but that necessarily wasn't the case. He had a lower body injury the last game of the season, which kept him sidelined. But at that point of the year, are you really going to put out Lorenzo Insigne when the season's already over? So, not an ideal start to the year. I don't think I'm quite ready to put the injury-prone label on Lorenzo Insigne quite yet. This team's taking it cautious with him. I think timeline-wise, based on what they set out since he had a setback, this will be the 4th game that Insigne missed. So the hope is that, and Bob Bradley said this, the hope is that he'll be back, like you said, against Atlanta.
Yeah, so we'll keep eyes on that. A familiar face that Toronto will be going up against this weekend in Nashville is Jacob Schaffleberg. Mikey, Bob Bradley also spoke about him in the sense that one of the reasons he left the squad was because there just wasn't space with a player like Lorenzo Insigne. But he had a really great season when he went to Nashville last year.
Yeah, and he's picked up where he left off, right? He started this season so well, and something Bob Bradley touched on just now is that this Nashville team, coached by Gary Smith, like it's kind of tailor-made for how he wants to play. Jacob Schaffleberg is very direct, and he's at his best when he's running at defenders, trying to run behind defenders. We knew that here. That wasn't the way Bob Bradley wanted to play. At Nashville, they play a very vertical style of play, and it suits him so well, and he's enjoying life in Nashville. The reality is as Bob Bradley just mentioned a few minutes ago, his best position is at left wing, and we know there's a pretty good player for Toronto FC who's playing that left wing position. So, yeah, it is what it is. It's sad to see a homegrown kid leave, but we're also happy for him that he is doing so well in Nashville. And Nashville as a whole, they're going to be a tough team, I think, in Major League Soccer this year, and TFC enter this one as heavy underdogs. Nashville have only lost 2 games this year, and that was to 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and that's the New England Revolution and Cincinnati right now. So yeah, it won't be easy. TFC definitely have a lot to overcome this weekend, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, looking for 3 more points. TFC take on Nashville Saturday at 8:30. Room 442 is presented by North Star Bets. That's a win.